again, this is Andy from potatoesandpros.com, and in this video I am going to show you my attempt at making no-bake cheesecake. I think I've made no-bake cheesecake a long time ago, and I used Jell-O to help set the cheesecake. This time I'm just going to be using cream cheese and sweetened condensed milk, and I'm going to see how it goes. I took inspiration from a Martha Stewart recipe, but I adjusted it a little bit, like taking out some of the butter. So we're going to get into it right after this. Instead of using graham cracker crumbs, I used 9 ounces of shortbread cookies, or an entire box of Girl Scout shortbread cookies, because that's what I had in the house, because I did not feel like buying graham cracker crumbs. I'm gonna tell you now, I'm never making a crust again with graham cracker crumbs. It will only be shortbread cookies. This turned out so good. So I went ahead and opened up the packaging, which I cut this out, but it was like the Girl Scouts didn't want me to open the package of cookies. I don't know. But I got them open finally after grabbing a knife. I'm going to go ahead and dump them in the Ziploc bag, and I'm going to crush the cookies up into crumbs. Off camera, I use a rolling pin to beat this bag until all the cookies are crumbled up. I am going to take my shortbread cookie crumbs and dump them in a bowl, and I am going to go ahead and add in 1 stick of unsalted butter. In some of the recipes I read, and especially the Martha Stewart recipe that I was looking at as well for this, they had a lot of tablespoons of butter. Like, I think one of them I read, it was like 12 tablespoons of butter. I cut this down because I am using shortbread cookies, so it's already a cookie that has like butter in it. I know it's something to hold it together, but it didn't seem like it needed that extra. And I put in 2 tablespoons of sugar just to make it a little bit more sweeter. Next, we're going to take that mix and put it into a springform pan. I do like to add a little bit of oil on the bottom. I probably don't need to, but like, it's a safety buffer just in case. I cut down the amount of butter, so what is a little bit of oil on the bottom of the pan really going to do? I am going to go ahead and pat this down into a crust. A lot of people like to push crust up on the sides of a cheesecake, which would also help with popping the springform pan out, but I hate a lot of crust, so I am just pushing it flat. I know it's gonna pull at the cheesecake a little bit later, but I would rather it pull a little bit than have all that extra crust pushed up on the side. And if you all missed it, I put it in the refrigerator for about 10 to 15 minutes. To get our cream cheese mixture together, I am going to start with 16 ounces of cream cheese, or 2 packets of like a normal pack of cream cheese you would buy at the store in the bricks. It is cut up into small chunks just to make it easier to blend, and I'm just separating them apart to make sure that it's still not in big chunks even though it's cut up. I go ahead and turn on my blender and get the cream cheese moving around a little bit. I could have whipped it up a little bit more just from the recipes that I read, but I just got it kind of crushed up a little bit, and then I went ahead and added in my sweetened condensed milk. That's 14 ounces of sweetened condensed milk, and I started out kind of low just to make sure stuff didn't splash. And after I add in the sweetened condensed milk and some of the other ingredients, I crank up my blender and I let it run until the mixture got really smooth. There were still a little bit of lumps in it, and that was probably from me not blending the cream cheese long enough. but it still came out pretty creamy. So I was satisfied with that, but now I do know for next time I make this cheesecake. That is 1 teaspoon of vanilla, and then I'm also going to add in 1/4 cup of lemon juice. And then once again, I'm just gonna let the blender run on like medium high for maybe about 10 minutes just to get it smooth. So this is a mixture that came out. As you can see, if it's showing up well on your screen, there are a few little lumps in there, but they're very small, and it didn't affect the texture at all. Now this is something a little different for me. I didn't really see this in any recipe. This was just something I wanted to do to add a little oomph to mine. I'm adding in some lemon curd. What I did was I folded the lemon curd into the mixture, so when it set, it was like kind of hidden in there. So I would cut slices and there would be like a little bit of lemon curd, almost like a lemon meringue pie cheesecake. So I'm gonna go ahead and add that in. I probably did about 1/4 cup to 1/3 cup of lemon curd. So this is the set crust that's been sitting in the refrigerator, and I'm gonna go ahead and pour my mixture on top, and you can still see kind of some of the little fine lumps, but once again, it didn't affect the flavor or anything of the cheesecake. And actually eating it, it's not like I'm biting into cream cheese chunks, but once again, I would recommend blending the cream cheese by itself longer, and that's something that I didn't do. So once I poured all my mixture in, I shook the pan to flatten it out, and I put it in the refrigerator for a minimum of 2.5 hours. Now I left mine in the refrigerator for about 3 hours, and this is what it looked like. I would actually recommend leaving it in there for maybe even 4 hours, because once I cut into it, it was still a little, I don't want to say loose, but it was still a little bit more liquidy. And when I put it back in the refrigerator and took it back out to get a slice later, it was much more stiff. So I would say minimum 2.5 hours, depending on where you put it in the refrigerator, if you put it in the back or the front. But I would say definitely like 4 hours, and you're gonna get a nice set cheesecake. Here's a cheesecake here. I am going to save you the embarrassment of seeing me trying to pull a slice out, because even on cakes, I am terrible at cutting cakes. I need to figure out a way to cut cakes properly. But this is it, and it came out really delicious. It came out really good. The crust, once again, I am going to do cookie crust. Like, if I do this again, graham crackers are out. It's all about a cookie crust. It was delicious. The cheesecake came out really good, and it was a nice treat to have in the house while we're going through what we're going through in the world today. So I loved it. I hope this recipe is helpful to somebody trying to, maybe make something in the house, or just anytime, honestly. The lemon was nicely folded in, so there were parts where I would cut it and it would have some nice lemon curd, and it just is honestly like a really good summer, spring dessert. I had somebody else, I'm still social distancing, but somebody else also said that this was really good. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. And if you are into food and sometimes travel, when we are allowed to travel again, click the subscribe button. It would really help me out. I would really appreciate it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video once again, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.